Welcome in, everyone. We have some breaking news this afternoon. We begin with a live look here at the Supreme Court as we continue to follow reaction to two major rulings today. The High Court striking down President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. That program would have allowed eligible borrowers to cancel up to $10,000 to $20,000 in debt. It was estimated it would have cost more than $400 billion. The president, however, just moments ago saying the fight is not over and has more to announce when he addresses the nation this afternoon. The other big decision from SCOTUS is a ruling in favor of Lori Smith. She is a Christian web designer from Colorado who refuses to work on same-sex weddings. She commented on the court's decision in her favor here on Newsmax just moments ago, and we will have her response and reaction to it in just a moment. But welcome in. Thanks so much for staying with me today. I'm Bianca De La Garza. We do have live team coverage for you right now. Christina Thompson standing by with reaction to the victory of that Christian web designer. But first, let's begin with our James Rosen live at the White House with the High Court's decision to block Biden's student loan forgiveness program. James, obviously this was something he was pushing big time before the midterms. What are you hearing from the White House today?
Bianca, good afternoon. We are expecting to hear directly from President Biden with an on-camera appearance here at the White House later this afternoon. It is clear, nonetheless, that today's court rulings will do little to disturb the president's viewpoint articulated yesterday that, as he put it, this is not a normal court. A statement that alarmed many observers, coming as it does at a time when Supreme Court justices face heightened security risks. At issue in the big case today was the Biden administration program, proposed last August, scored by the Congressional Budget Office as costing some $430 billion. That would provide student loan debt relief to an estimated 43 million borrowers, with amounts of debt relief going as high as $20,000 per student. The administration cited the emergency waiver or modification clauses in the HEROES Act of 2003, a 9/11 era law that permitted the education secretary to provide debt relief for service personnel fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. The secretary asserts that the HEROES Act grants him the authority to cancel $430 billion of student loan principal. It does not, wrote Chief Justice John Roberts for the majority. What the secretary has actually done is draft a new section of the Education Act from scratch by, quote, waiving provisions root and branch and then filling the empty space with radically new text. The question here is not whether something should be done, it is who has the authority to do it. This court has never drawn the line, the secretary suggests, and for good reason. Among Congress's most important authorities, the Chief Justice concluded, is its control of the purse. Justice Elena Kagan, an appointee of Barack Obama, wrote the dissent, joined by the other two members of the court's so-called liberal bloc, Justices Sotomayor and Jackson. Congress gave discretion to the secretary, Kagan's dissent argued. He could waive or modify any statutory or regulatory provision applying to federal student loan programs, including provisions relating to loan repayment and forgiveness. And in so doing, he could replace the old provisions with new terms and conditions, Kagan wrote. The secretary, that is, could give the relief that was needed in the form he deemed most appropriate to counteract the effects of a national emergency on borrowers' capacity to repay. That may have been a good idea or it may have been a bad idea, Kagan concluded. Either way, it was what Congress said. Meantime, President Biden has now responded in writing to the court's ruling this morning in the case alternately described, based on one's point of view, as a gay rights case or a religious liberty case. The court held 6-3 that a website developer could lawfully cite religious beliefs as a basis for refusing to provide a wedding website to a same-sex couple. In a statement released just now, President Biden said, and I quote, "In America, no person should face discrimination simply because of who they are or who they love." The Supreme Court's disappointing decision in 303 Creative LLC v. Alenis undermines that basic truth, the president said, and painfully it comes during Pride Month, when millions of Americans across the country join together to celebrate the contributions, resilience, and strength of the LGBTQI+ community. While the court's decision only addresses expressive original designs, I'm deeply concerned, the president continued, that the decision could invite more discrimination against LGBTQI+ Americans. More broadly, the president added, today's decision weakens long-standing laws that protect all Americans against discrimination in public accommodations. So this is a season of torment for the Biden administration and its supporters in terms of this series of momentous Supreme Court rulings this week. Again, we expect an on-camera appearance from President Biden here at the White House later this afternoon. Bianca.
Very busy Friday yet again. James Rosen, thank you for that up-to-the-minute detailed report there on the reaction from the White House. We appreciate it. Also, again, the Supreme Court making a major ruling in favor of a Christian web designer from Colorado who refused to work on same-sex weddings. Joining us with reaction from that designer is correspondent Christina Thompson. Christina?
Hi, Bianca. Well, the Supreme Court issued their ruling on 303 Creative versus Lennis today and decided that artistic creatives have the right to refuse service to potential patrons who want to use their services if it violates their religious beliefs. Now, the case deals with the website designer, Lori Smith, who says Colorado is infringing on her rights by forcing her to design websites for same-sex couples. Colorado has a law prohibiting public-serving businesses from discriminating against gay people, as well as putting out statements on their website about their businesses saying such a policy. Now, Smith says she does not want to provide her services for gay weddings because of her religious beliefs. Here's what she had to say about this ruling.
And I'm even seeing messages of support from the LGBT community who don't want to be forced to create messages that go against what they believe on the topic of marriage. Today is truly a victory for each and every one of us.
This decision was 7 years in the making. Smith brought the suit originally in 2016. She says a gay man named Stewart requested her services for help with his upcoming wedding with another man. But there was a recent twist in this case because the man who was listed in the suit as being the one to send an email asking for Smith's services says that he never sent it, even though it is his name and his email address that was on the website service request form. He went on to say he's been happily married to a woman for 15 years. Now, Smith's attorneys, Alliance Defending Freedom, did address this, saying she had absolutely no way of knowing whether or not the request was fake, if she was being baited. But regardless, it doesn't really matter because the core of their argument is Colorado infringing on a business owner's rights to refuse service to anybody if it violates their religious rights. John, Bianca.
All right, Christina Thompson, thank you, Christina. Appreciate that update. And let's get some more analysis and insight onto these major rulings. Joining us now, former United States Attorney for Washington, D.C., Joe diGenova. He's also a chief counsel on the Senate Rules Committee. Alongside him is former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney, currently Katie Cherkasky, and associate professor of law at SHUPL University, Ronald Joseph Lin. Welcome to you all. A lot to get through and digest, but as we break it down, I guess the big one right now when it comes to how the president is reacting is this student loan ruling, which basically is a big disappointment if you are Biden. And obviously, it would have been a huge cost to taxpayers, estimated, Joe, to cost $430 billion. The high court ruling, it is who has the authority to do this? They're saying not Biden. He just responded moments ago. I want to get your reaction. He says, the president, I believe that the court's decision to strike down our student debt relief plan is wrong, if we can put the statement up. He adds, but I will stop at nothing to find other ways to deliver relief to hardworking middle-class families. My administration will continue to work to bring the promise of higher education to every American. I guess a lot of folks are saying, but at the cost to other taxpayers? Is that what this is about?
Well, there's no doubt about it that this is a monumental loss for the president. At least today, he didn't call the court not normal. When he did that yesterday, he performed a really dangerous act in a situation politically where justices of the Supreme Court have been threatened with death. What he should have done yesterday and today was say he has respect for the court, he disagrees with its ruling, and he will do whatever the law permits him to do to help people that he thinks needs help. The problem is the court was so profoundly clear in what it said, he doesn't have this power, and if he wants to forgive this debt, he has to go to Congress to get it done, just like Nancy Pelosi said he had to.
I believe we have great analysis there, Joe, always. But Chuck Schumer's weighing in on the student loan, loss here for the Bidens. If we can put up his tweet. Obviously, we know that the Democrats will not be too happy about this. He calls it disappointing and cruel. Katie, just weigh in on the reaction we're getting from the fight will not end here. Katie, your reaction to Chuck Schumer and the left's reaction?
Well, I'm sure they're very disappointed. This was a huge campaign promise, and it was never going to be upheld by this court because it was clearly outside of the authority of the executive to do this. as my fellow colleague here has mentioned, if President Biden wanted this plan to pass, he has to go through Congress. This was one of the greatest usurpation of congressional authority by an executive in history if this had been allowed to go through, just on the sheer numbers. So certainly it's disappointing, but constitutionally speaking, it was very clear.
Yeah, and Lori Smith, the other woman involved in the other major ruling today, she's celebrating a win. We just heard her reaction here. And, Senator Ted Cruz is also responding to that other ruling for the Colorado website maker, talking about what the court did. And he says this law wasn't just a threat to Christians either. This should be a Muslim artist be compelled by the government to draw the image of Muhammad. Should Jewish artists be forced to create art that is anti-Semitic? No, absolutely not. And I think, Ronald, to bring you in here, when you look at sort of the law and the rule, this woman is saying, I have religious fundamental things that I'll make you a website, but I don't want to express things on it. And the court weighed in her favor.
Right. And I think that today and yesterday was a great day for all Americans. It's a great day for the foundations that founded our country. And most importantly, in terms of yesterday, it was a great day that kind of validated the words of Martin Luther King Jr., right, who said, we should not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And I think that, let's not forget that all these victories that we're having on the court level, these are a direct result of President Trump, right? If President Trump had not put those justices in there, we would not have the that we have today.
And what will move forward now as a result of these major decisions just in the past 48 hours? One of them is an interesting takeaway. It's coming from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commissioner, Andrea Lucas, says, the ruling on affirmative action is also a wake-up call, because he says there's a ton of pressure at the corporate 100 across corporate America to take race-conscious decision-making. It's illegal. It's still illegal. Joe, over to you. Do you think we'll see some more lawsuits when it comes to, these DEI policies at major corporations in the wake of SCOTUS ruling yesterday?
Absolutely. People are going to be emboldened to move to protect their civil rights against the encroachment of discrimination. And let me just say something about that ruling involving Harvard and the University of North Carolina. Since Bakke and Grutter, the American universities have been resisting obeying Supreme Court precedent. And after this decision yesterday, the Academy is going to do exactly the same thing again. They're call it a workaround. They are going to try and disobey the law of the land to figure out a way to discriminate against Asians and whites. You watch, it's only a matter of time. And that's going to lead to more litigation, not only with corporations, but with universities. The Academy has become basically a criminal class.
Yeah, and I think 30 seconds to you, Katie. I'll give you the final word here. President Biden will be speaking this afternoon. There was concerns, as you just heard Joe say, too, from a lot of Americans saying he's saying this is not a normal court. And there's been attempts on justices' lives here. This type of comments, many say, are not productive to the nation with a court that is supposed to be apolitical here.
It's very disappointing to see such disrespect to our institutions. These decisions were no surprise, just based on a pure constitutional analysis. And I would expect the president to have the respect for a co-equal branch of government in that respect. But clearly, that's not the direction this will go, and it will engender much more resentment, which is very, very unfortunate.
Great to have you all in today. Katie, Joe, and Ronald, thank you for your time and your insight. We certainly appreciate it.